My brother's fiancée attacked me and left me injured. He texted, "Stay away from us." I said, "Gladly." Days later, their dream home loan collapsed after I pulled my name as guarantor. My name is Michaela. I'm 29 years old, and my brother's fiancée left me bleeding on my bathroom floor while he stood in the doorway checking his phone. Before I tell you how I used one electronic signature to destroy their $850,000 dream home deal and expose them both in front of a judge, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. The first thing I remember is the cold. The porcelain edge of my bathtub was shockingly cold against my shoulder blade. There was a sharp, metallic taste flooding my mouth. Blood. A deep, pulsing pain radiated from somewhere behind my left eye, making it hard to focus on anything. I blinked, trying to push through the fog in my head, and that's when I saw him. My brother, Justin. He wasn't rushing to help me. He wasn't even looking at me. He was leaning against the doorframe, scrolling through his phone with his thumb, his face completely blank, like my crumpled body wedged between the toilet and the tub was just an inconvenience. Like I was a spilled drink he didn't want to clean up. He stepped over my outstretched arm, careful not to let his brand new Nike Air Maxes touch my sweater, and walked out of my apartment. He didn't say a single word. Not one. My phone, which had skidded across the tile during the fight, buzzed somewhere near the sink. The screen lit up the dim bathroom. It was a text from Justin. For words that felt like a knife sliding between my ribs. Stay away from us. Hot tears blurred my vision, but they weren't from the pain in my face. This was something deeper. Something that made the split in my lip feel like nothing. I stayed there for a long moment, the cold seeping into my bones, the silence of my apartment pressing down on me like a weight. Then something inside me shifted. The hurt didn't disappear, but it crystallized. It became something hard. Something sharp. Something I could use. My fingers, which had been shaking just seconds before, went steady. I reached for my phone, slow and deliberate, and typed back a single word. A word that felt like it had been carved from ice. Gladly. I hit send. A terrible silence filled the apartment. For them, that word probably meant relief. It meant their inconvenient sister would finally disappear. It meant they could go back to planning their perfect life without me in the way. For me, it was a declaration of war. To understand why this betrayal cut so deep, you need to understand my family. And in my family, there was only ever one star, Justin. I was the responsible one. The one with the master's degree and the six-figure salary. The one who'd worked 2 jobs to pay off student loans while Justin bounced from gig to gig, always talking about his next big thing. But none of that mattered. Facts were just background noise. Justin was the story. I remember one Thanksgiving dinner 3 years ago. Justin announced he'd gotten a promotion at his sales job, his 3rd job in 2 years. My father stood up, and raised his glass like Justin had just been elected governor. To my son, he boomed, the future CEO of America. Everyone clapped. Even my cousins. Later that night, I quietly mentioned that I'd just been headhunted by a Fortune 500 company. A massive promotion. A corner office. Stock options that would set me up for life. My mother patted my hand, but her eyes were already drifting back toward Justin, who was holding court at the other end of the table. That's wonderful, sweetheart, she said absently. But don't let work consume you. Men don't like women who are too ambitious. You need to leave room for a family. Justin just grinned at me from across the table and said nothing. He never did. It was the same story when our grandmother passed away. The small inheritance she left, about $30,000, was quietly redirected to help Justin buy a loaded Jeep Wrangler he absolutely didn't need. Meanwhile, I was told I was doing fine on my own and didn't need help with my condo down payment. I wasn't a daughter worth investing in. I was the family's emergency fund. A resource to be tapped when convenient. I remember another time, back in high school. Justin had borrowed our dad's vintage Rolex, a gift from his own father, and lost it at some house party. When Dad found out, Justin immediately pointed the finger at me, saying I'd been messing with it in his room. And I, like an idiot, took the fall. I worked a miserable job at a smoothie shop for 6 months, getting screamed at by entitled customers, just to pay for a replacement and keep the peace. That was my role. The fixer. The safety net. The invisible support beam holding up everyone else's life. And then came Angela. When Justin first brought Angela home, she seemed lost, vulnerable. Big brown eyes and a trembling voice and a sad story about growing up in foster care. I felt for her. I saw someone like me, a woman trying to carve out a place in a world that didn't make space for her. When Angela was struggling to find work and couldn't afford her own place, I was the one who stepped in. I didn't just co-sign her lease. I spent hours with her, rewriting her resume, coaching her for interviews, teaching her how to negotiate salary. I even covered her security deposit and first 2 months' rent, $4,200, and told her to pay me back whenever she could. She cried and hugged me and said I was the sister she'd always dreamed of having. I defended her to my friends when they whispered that Angela seemed a little too good at playing the victim. That she always had a convenient excuse when things went wrong. She just needs a chance, I insisted. She's family now. I wanted to believe it. I wanted, for once, for Justin to have chosen someone who would add to our family instead of just taking from it. Lying on that bathroom floor, the memory of my own kindness felt like poison in my throat. I pushed myself up off the tile, every muscle screaming in protest. My reflection in the bathroom mirror was unrecognizable. One eye was already swelling shut. My bottom lip was split wide open, still bleeding. A dark purple bruise was spreading across my cheekbone like spilled ink. I pulled out my phone and called the only person I knew would believe me without question. My best friend since freshman year of college, Autumn. Autumn, I whispered, my voice breaking. Kayla? Oh my God, what's wrong? You sound. The story came tumbling out between sobs. The argument, which had started over something so stupid, something about their wedding registry and how Angela wanted me to contribute $500 toward their honeymoon fund as a sisterly gesture. Angela's sudden, terrifying explosion of rage when I said I'd already bought them a gift. Her eyes going dark. The shove that sent me stumbling backward into the tub. The punch that split my lip. And Justin, just standing there by the door with his phone, sipping an iced coffee from Dunkin', like he was watching a mildly interesting TV show. Autumn didn't hesitate. There was no "are you sure?" or "maybe you misunderstood." There was only cold, sharp fury in her voice. I'm getting in my car right now. Don't touch anything. Don't clean up. And Michaela, you're calling the cops. Do you hear me? We are not letting this slide. Not this time. This isn't a fight. This is assault. Her immediate, unwavering support was the only thing keeping me from falling apart completely. She was right. This wasn't just a sibling argument. This was a crime. And Justin's text wasn't just a request for space. It was an abdication. A betrayal. A line drawn in the sand. Now it was my turn to draw mine. The next morning, my entire body was a symphony of pain. A massive bruise had bloomed across my ribs, an ugly purple and yellow galaxy. My lip was swollen to twice its normal size. But my mind was calm. Clear. Frighteningly focused. I sat down at my desk, ignoring the throbbing in my skull, and opened my laptop. I navigated to my bank's secure portal. And there it was, in crisp digital print. Primary guarantor, Michaela C. Harris. Loan amount, $850,000. Property address, 428 Magnolia Lane, Charleston, South Carolina. Their dream house. The one with the wraparound porch and the oak trees and the gourmet kitchen. The one Angela had posted about on Instagram 47 times in the past month. The one they couldn't get without me. My 780 credit score. My spotless financial history. My $140,000 salary. I was the only reason the bank had approved such a massive loan for a couple with inconsistent income and $60,000 in credit card debt between them. I was the foundation their entire dream was built on. Revoking my guarantee wasn't a simple click. It was a multi-step process specifically designed to prevent exactly this kind of emotional decision. A pop-up appeared. Are you sure? Withdrawing your guarantee may result in immediate loan cancellation. I clicked yes. Two-factor authentication. A code sent to my phone. Security questions. My first pet's name. My mother's maiden name. Bitter irony. And finally, an electronic signature on a legal document that explicitly warned me, withdrawing your guarantee will almost certainly result in the cancellation of this loan agreement. I read every word. Then, with a hand that didn't shake, I signed my name. A small digital signature. A bomb planted in the center of their perfect, curated life. I spent the rest of the day methodically building my case. I went to an urgent care clinic and got a full medical report. The doctor, a kind woman in her 50s, took detailed notes, documenting the laceration on my inner lip, the significant contusion on my ribs, the periorbital hematoma around my eye. All consistent with blunt force trauma. I took high-resolution photos of every bruise, every cut, every mark, from every possible angle. The pain was constant. But it fueled something cold and sharp inside me. The call came 36 hours later. It was Justin. His voice was frantic, high-pitched, unrecognizable. "Michaela, what did you do?" "The bank just called. The loan fell through. They said the guarantor pulled out." "What the hell did you do?" I let the silence sit there for a long, delicious moment. Then I spoke, my voice flat and emotionless. "I did what you asked, Justin. I'm staying away from you. That includes my name, my credit, and my money." I hung up. That evening, someone pounded on my apartment door. Not knocking. Pounding. I looked through the peephole. It was them. Their faces were twisted with rage and desperation. They looked feral. "Michaela, open this door." Angela shrieked, her voice shrill enough to crack glass. "You're ruining everything. Our house, our wedding, our future." "Kayla, please," Justin begged, his voice breaking. "We can talk about this. Don't do this to us. Think about Mom and Dad. Think about everything we've been through together." I just stood there, watching them through that small circle of glass. Their desperation gave me no satisfaction. Only a deep, hollow emptiness. They weren't sorry for what they'd done. They were sorry they'd been caught. They were sorry there were consequences. I calmly blocked both their numbers, disabled my doorbell camera notifications, and went back to my computer. I opened a new folder. I named it Evidence, Court. The first files I saved were the photos of my face. The next few days were hell. It started with my mother. She called, her voice dripping with disappointment, not for what had happened to me, but for what I had done. "Justin told me everything," she began. No preamble. "No, how you feeling? How could you be so selfish, Michaela? After everything we've sacrificed for you? You're destroying your brother's happiness over little disagreement." A little disagreement. I felt the air leave my lungs. "Mom." She punched me in the face. Justin watched. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," she snapped. "Angela's under a lot of stress with the wedding. You probably provoked her. You know how you can be, so opinionated, so competitive. You make people uncomfortable." How I can be. The words hit me like a second punch. I was the problem. I had always been the problem. Too independent. Too successful. Too much. "I have to go, Mom," I said, my voice hollow. I hung up. And then I slid down the wall in my hallway and sobbed. Ugly, gut-wrenching sobs. For the family I'd never have. For the mother who would never protect me. For the little girl inside me who still, foolishly, wanted their love. Autumn found me like that an hour later. She didn't say anything. She just sat beside me and held my hand until the tears stopped. The next day, my Aunt Linda called. "Michaela, sweetheart," she cooed, fake concern dripping from every word. "Your mother told me what happened. I'm so disappointed in you. Justin's heartbroken. He might lose that beautiful house. You need to think about the family." That was the moment I understood. This wasn't just Justin and Angela. This was a system. A family dynamic built on the foundation of my silence, my sacrifice, my compliance. And I was done being the foundation. Just as I was starting to piece myself back together, the final blow arrived. A certified letter. My hands trembled as I opened it. It was a temporary restraining order. Filed by Angela. Against me. The document was a masterpiece of fiction. It painted me as an unhinged, jealous woman who'd been harassing Angela for months. Who was obsessed with Justin. Who had violently assaulted her in my apartment. They were trying to flip the script. To legally brand me as the aggressor. For a moment, I felt pure despair. How could I fight this? It was their word, the word of the golden couple, against mine. But then I looked at my computer screen, at the folder labeled Evidence, Court, and a cold, hard smile touched my lips. Thank you, I thought. You just gave me a stage. And I have the whole damn script. I immediately called the lawyer Autumn had recommended, a sharp-eyed woman named Ms. Brennan who specialized in family law and had a reputation for demolishing liars on the stand. The day of the hearing, the air in the courtroom was thick with tension. I sat with Autumn on one side, Ms. Brennan on the other. Across the aisle sat Angela, Justin, and my mother, a united front of victimhood. Angela was dabbing at her bone-dry eyes with a tissue. My mother shot me a look of pure venom. Justin refused to look at me at all. Angela's lawyer went first. He painted a vivid picture of me as a jealous, unstable woman obsessed with sabotaging my brother's happiness. He spoke of my history of emotional outbursts, my unhealthy attachment to Justin. He twisted my career success into a weapon, suggesting my high-pressure job made me volatile and aggressive. It was sickening. And effective. Then Justin took the stand. He looked small. Pathetic. He spoke in a soft, trembling voice about how I'd always been difficult. How I'd stormed into their lives and made unreasonable demands about the wedding. How he'd had to protect poor, fragile Angela from my aggression. He even managed to squeeze out a tear, talking about how all he wanted was for his two favorite girls to get along. He was a phenomenal actor. I'll give him that. Then it was my turn. Ms. Brennan stood. Your Honor, she said calmly, my client will not be testifying about her feelings. She will not engage in the family drama you've just heard. She will be presenting facts. One by one, we laid them out. First, the high-resolution photographs of my face. The split lip. The swollen eye. The bruising along my jaw. Ms. Brennan placed them on the projector. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. The judge studied them, her expression hardening. Next, the official medical report from the urgent care clinic. Ms. Brennan read it aloud, her voice clear and steady. Patient presents with facial trauma consistent with blunt force impact. Lacerations to inner lip. Periorbital contusion. Rib contusion consistent with forceful blow or fall. The room went quiet. And then, the final piece. Your Honor, Ms. Brennan said, her voice ringing with authority, would like to present one final piece of evidence. Security footage from the hallway outside my client's apartment building, time-stamped on the night of the alleged incident. A screen was angled toward the judge. The video was silent. But it was brutal, unequivocal, crystal clear. It showed me opening my door, smiling. It showed Angela shouting, her face twisted with rage. It showed her lunging forward, shoving me backward with both hands, so hard I disappeared into the apartment. And then it showed Justin, standing in the hallway, looking at his phone, annoyed, before he turned his back and walked away. The silence in the courtroom was absolute. I watched their faces. Angela's jaw went slack. The color drained from her face like water from a broken glass. Justin looked like he'd been hit by a truck. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. And my mother, put a hand over her mouth, eyes wide with horror. But it wasn't horror for me. It was the horror of watching their perfect narrative crumble into dust. The judge's gavel came down with a crack that made everyone jump. Petition for restraining order is denied, she said, her voice like ice. She looked directly at Angela. And I would strongly advise you, Ms. Cole, that filing a false report and committing perjury are serious crimes. As is assault. You're fortunate Ms. Harris is not pressing charges today. She looked at Justin. And you, sir, are a coward. The gavel came down again. This court is adjourned. As we filed out of the courtroom, Autumn hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might crack. You did it, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. You actually did it. My mother tried to approach me, her face a mess of shame and confusion. Michaela, I didn't know. I gave her a cold, empty look, and walked right past her. In the hallway, Justin blocked my path. His face was pale, his eyes red-rimmed. Kayla, he croaked. I'm so sorry. Angela, She gets like that sometimes. I didn't know what to. I cut him off. I looked him dead in the eye. And for the first time, I didn't see my big brother. I saw a weak, hollow man. A coward hiding behind a woman's fists. You stood in that doorway, I said, my voice flat and steady. You stepped over my body. You texted me to stay away. You are not my brother. You're her shield. From now on, we are strangers. I turned and walked away. I never spoke to him again. The year that followed was one of rebuilding. It wasn't easy. There were nightmares. There were days when the loneliness felt unbearable. But for every bad day, there were two good ones. I threw myself into my work, not as an escape, but as a celebration of my own strength. I led my team to our best quarter in company history and earned a promotion to senior VP. At 30 years old, I became one of the youngest executives in the firm's 40-year history. I also started taking a glass-blowing class on Thursday nights, something I'd always wanted to do but my family had dismissed as messy and pointless. There was something deeply healing about taking molten glass, something shapeless and fragile, and turning it into something beautiful with my own two hands. I was reshaping my life. One piece at a time. My chosen family rallied around me. Autumn was my rock. My real friends, the ones who'd seen Angela for what she was all along, surrounded me with love and laughter. One evening, I hosted a dinner party in my condo. The room was full of voices, laughter, clinking glasses. It was warm and bright and real. This was family. The one I'd built. The one I'd earned. A few months ago, a letter arrived. I recognized Justin's handwriting. My hand didn't tremble. I held it for a long moment, feeling nothing. No anger. No curiosity. Just quiet stillness. Out of sheer curiosity, I opened it. It was exactly what I expected. A rambling, self-pitying apology. He and Angela had broken up. Restraining orders on both sides. He was in therapy. He was working on himself. He was sorry. He wanted his sister back. I thought about all the years I'd craved his approval. His protection. And I realized I didn't need it anymore. My peace was my own. My strength was my own. I tore the letter in half. Then in quarters. Then I dropped it in the recycling bin. Now, a year and a half later, I'm standing on the balcony of my condo. The sun is warm on my face. I'm watering a small succulent I bought after the court case, a stubborn little thing that refused to die no matter how much I neglected it. This morning, I noticed something new. A tiny yellow flower had bloomed at the top. I used to think strength meant not having scars. Now I know it's about what you grow from them. I survived. Not just the assault, but the deeper wound, the betrayal of people who were supposed to love me. And I learned that the most important home you can ever build is the one inside yourself. I took a deep breath of fresh air. For the first time in a very long time, I felt completely, utterly free. Thanks for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but I hope it helps someone out there who feels trapped or unseen. My question for you is, have you ever had to cut a toxic family member out of your life? Let me know in the comments. And if my story resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe. It really helps.